Yeah. Are they gonna come and fix all our, are they gonna? We can't open any, yeah. That happened last month. Okay, his is, Craig, can you get?
Just have to close it real.
Oh. Are you good? Can you open? Yeah. Okay, we get his down here. You good to go? Okay. Sorry for the delay. Good evening. Welcome to the December 16th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I would request that everyone please turn off or mute all electronic devices. Also at this time, I would ask everyone to please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Applications for conditional use permit request and rezoning requests will be heard during tonight's meeting, and the commission will vote on these applications and make a recommendation to the county council. The applications will then be scheduled to be introduced before the county council at the Monday, January the 11th, 2021 county council meeting. Public comment for conditional use permit requests will be taken during tonight's meeting and at the council meeting on Monday, January the 11th, 2021. Public comment on conditional use permit applications will not be taken at any meeting of the county council held thereafter. Applications for preliminary plats heard during tonight's meeting will also be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the meeting. The vote on preliminary plats is final. Only a recommendation for denial of a preliminary plat would be heard before the county council at their Monday, January the 11th, 2021 meeting. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. I see that we have a quorum. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
For the record, Mr. McDonald is attending the meeting virtually, so. I don't know what that was.
So you think?
Yeah,
Somebody already knows him.
yeah. How, if you have not been to a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting before, I'll give you a little brief outline. I'll read the application into the record. And then we will ask staff for their report and recommendation. Then we'll have the applicant come forward and present their application. At that time, the commission may or may not have questions. Then we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak regarding the application can come forward and be heard. If you're going to speak, there's these speaker cards right up here on the edge of the desk. We ask you to please fill out the speaker card, put it in the box. This way we ensure that we get your name, et cetera, correct in our minutes. Once the public hearing is closed, we will not take any more comments from the public. We'll have the applicant come back and address any issues that came up during the public hearing. And then the commission will consider the application. So that's how we conduct the meeting. The first item on our agenda is conditional use permit 20-14. The applicant is Green Thumb Lawn Care and Landscape LLC. At the request of the applicant, that's being continued to the January meeting. I believe it's the 20th, is that correct? Our next meeting in January, I believe it's January 20th. The applicant is ill and cannot be here this evening. So the next thing on our agenda is a rezoning request located on South Highways 94. The application number is RZ 20-14. The property owner is Beyond the Trail RV Park LLC. Current zoning is agricultural district with floodway and floodway fringe overlay districts. Requested zoning is PR Park Recreational District with floodway and floodway fringe overlay districts. The 2030 Master Plan recommends agricultural and recreational land uses. The parcel size is 3.85 acres. It's located on the east side of Highway 94 South and east of the Katy Trail, approximately 100 feet south of Walnut Springs Road. It's located in Council District 2. Staff.
All right, you can see from the aerial view there, a portion of this property has been developed already and has been rezoned to Park Recreational District. The use is currently being used as an RV park. The applicant would like to expand. The area is to the east. The two parcels, they're actually in different sections and surveys. The applicant would like to expand to the east with approximately 20 new RV sites. And consequently, the choices in that zoning district that is currently agricultural is to either apply for a conditional use permit, and with a conditional use permit, anytime any changes are made or any new development or anything would require the applicant to come back to Planning and Zoning Commission for another hearing. Consequently, they'd like to expand that park recreational zoning district to the east. And right now, the access is through, this is, I think it's Good News Brewing Company, right there along 94. They have permission to come across the Katy Trail and down. It's at a lower level there. It's adjacent to the Katy Trail right there. The applicant has purchased this access for access out to Darce Bottom Road. So there would be more than one entrance and exit allowed. Staff is recommending approval. The land use plan calls for both agricultural and secondary recreational uses. In the site planning phase, you do see that it is in the floodway fringe of the Missouri River. In the site planning phase, the applicant previously, and we would expect to do the same to the east there, has planned for evacuation in the event that the Missouri River usually gives a good notice that it's coming up, but he will abandon and make sure all RVs are taken out of the park. With that, staff does recommend approval. We did receive 3 letters against the application in opposition.
These were you're talking about the written protest?
Correct.
Any questions from staff? Seeing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for
Need to
doing
swear
what you
you
guys
in.
do. This one?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joe Brazel, 601 Stone Ridge Lane, Augusta, Missouri, 63332.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we used to own the brewery, me and my wife, and we built that building. We own the 2 pieces of property next to it. Currently, they're residential houses. And when we started, it was a Trail Smokehouse, and we had part to purchase from Donnie and Wanda Howe, that 4 acres, that triangle piece. And then a year or 2 later, we bought the additional 3.85 acres from the Howe family, which goes out with the road going out to Darce Bottom Road. So there's a second exit point. When we started this process, we have 20 sites in there. The project got more and more expensive. The fire department wanted a fire hydrant. We had to put water in under the Highway 94, under the Katy Trail. And then we had to bring in a transformer, had to put a lot of money in it to just get the infrastructure in place. We put gravel down. It's got gravel lots, and we have a bathhouse, and that is elevated with, it's made out of cinder blocks poured with concrete and rebar, 12-inch on center, with a concrete ceiling for a storm shelter. And it's a nice shower house, and then there's an elevated office. It's on stilts. It's pretty much out of floodplain. The center block building is flood-proof, where if it floods, it's got flood vents, and so the water just rushes out, and you just squirt it down with a hose. So we opened this year, and we had 100% occupancy every weekend since we opened middle of August. Starting September to November, we're 100% full. People loved it. A lot of people would come back again and again. The businesses, I had no idea I had actually 3 opposition letters, or I would have had people come speak, because Dan Tripp, he bought the business from us. He owns Good News Brewery. He's actually was appointed as a director of tourism in the representing District 2 for the county now. He would have came and spoke, and I could have had a lot of wineries and stuff come, because they really appreciate what we're trying to do in St. Charles County is have more overnight staying in the Southwest District, so people can spend the night and not, people do drink when they're at the winery, so they're not driving home. And so it works really well for that regard. And like I said, people really enjoyed it. It's a nice little spot. So we had always intended to do the phase 2. We bought that, but I wanted to get the phase 1 off and going. So with phase 2, Mike Herberger was, when we first started this project, he said, I'd really like you to have another accident entry point. So I negotiated with the Howe family and I bought that other piece that goes all the way out the end. So it's a 30 or 35 foot wide drive, 16 feet or 1,600 feet long. And so that'll be part of the plan too. That way customers can choose to come in and go out that way rather than go out through the brewery. Actually, the lane is my easement from 94 all the way to the campground. So when we owned that, I had that easement put in, and so I put in a new bridge too. So the infrastructure to get to the 20 sites was extremely expensive. So we're trying to get the other 20 because we could fill it and bring more people down for the businesses, and it'd be a really good thing for Southwest St. Charles County. And by the way, all the most of the government-owned, this is private, this is mine, no government funding, no grants, are in floodplains. So St. Peter's has their 370, which is in the Mississippi floodplain. They got over 150 sites. I think it's something like that. It's pretty big, and they're successful. The county's building one on the Mississippi floodplain as well, an RV site. So this is what I'm requesting. If we have, if I knew I had opposition, I would. No one called me. No one said anything. I had no. You can't see it from the road because there's a line of trees on the Katy Trail. So people like that, you can't even see it, and so it's not any kind of ugly eyesore or anything. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions?
How do you have some kind of,
Oh, I'm sorry, I do. Yeah.
the pumping and?
No, oh no, here, let me show you something if you guys want to see this. Can you start the video? It's 2 minutes. In the back?
It's ready.
Yeah. And yes, I pump it out. I pump it out. That's what the county's going to do too. They pump out the sewage. There's no septic tanks. This is when we first opened, so there's no grass. There's grass now, but the current campground right now is about a little over 3 acres, I believe, is what it is.
How many spots do you have right
20 right now. We used to own the restaurant there. Good News Brewery bought that.
there? You're gonna add 20?
20 more, yeah.
So is there any limitation on the number of days people can stay consecutively?
I'm kind of expensive. I'm $50 a night, and so I don't foresee anybody staying more than a month. But I haven't had that request. But I don't want people doing that.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking, is that's.
Yeah, I think it might be
Some
a-
of these parks have limitations on consecutive.
Yeah, no, I don't have anybody. I have not had anybody request that. But I'm not certainly don't want any squatters. But if there were squatters, they'd have a little bit of money to be able to afford that.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Have you had any incidents of police showing up for problems or anything like that during the time?
No, as a matter of fact, the police officers, I told them they're allowed to use. I told them all about it. The guys that patrol down there, so the bathrooms are nice and clean, so they like to come down and use them. I actually want them to come down there though. But the clientele, I have age limits. I don't rent to 20. If you're 25 and under, I won't rent to you without someone older. We used to have the vacation rentals. We had 4 vacation rentals, and those are some of the rules. We're following the same rules, so we don't. The tent sites, we got 10 of those. For the DNR wanted, I had to get approval from DNR, from all these different agencies across over the state park and the it took 3 years to get permits. And with the tent sites, I only allow 4 people staying there. I'm an old guy with or older kids. I know what they can do. I don't want people down there having beer parties and stuff, you know? So we avoid anything like that. And actually, like I said, all the businesses really appreciate this campground. It brings them a lot of business, and it brings them business during the week, which we own the business in Defiance, and it's really hard. It's not easy having a business in a seasonal wine district. It really isn't. And so this helps.
Will you have to do any elevation building, any changes to elevation? Because that seems to be the major complaint of all the protest letters, is that expanding upon this is going to cause more flooding for the people around you.
Well, it's in the floodplain to begin with, and we put down gravel for the roads and stuff, and we put down topsoil to get the grass to grow. The folks when you're looking at it this way, most of that ground's the Howes, and that's who sold it to me. And the folks to the right are from Washington, and they wrote a protest letter. And that guy likes using my bridge and my road. I didn't know they protested, but if you look at that satellite photo, me and Tommy Howe cleaned out the whole drainage ditch if you see that video, there's a drainage ditch that runs from my property to their property, and Howe owns an excavating company, and they cleaned that whole drainage ditch out so it would drain better. And I had a conversation with Mr. Moritz about cleaning his drainage ditch out, and I said, your ground's turned into a swamp because he doesn't maintain it like he should. And if you notice that, there's a big swamp hole there, and there's snakes and everything in it. And so I was starting to mow it because it was just gross and had mosquitoes and stuff. So I guess him and I didn't get along so well, and he never cleaned out his ditch. And so the flooding is just trying to control the water. But, you know, I mean, floodplains flood. I mean, that's just the way it is, you know? Yeah. And the way we built it with that in mind, you know? And so, you know.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for application number RZ 20-14. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application?
Yes, sir, I'd like to speak.
Okay,
I'd like to speak.
I need to swear you in, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Hatcher. I'm a resident of 1404 Garden Valley Drive, Apartment D in St. Peters. I am employed by the Good News Brewing Company, which is the next door neighbor to the Beyond the Trail RV Park. And I know that the creation of the Beyond the Trail RV Park has been a boon to businesses in the area, not only the one that employs me, but many others. I know when I'm outside cleaning in the morning before we open, we often have people walk across the Katy Trail from the RV park. They want to know if we're open, if we're serving breakfast. When I tell them we don't open until 11, they ask where they can get breakfast nearby. I usually direct them to the Defiance Roadhouse just on Highway 94, which does serve breakfast. And many of the businesses in this area are benefiting from the creation of the Beyond the Trail RV Park, because RVers come in, they park their mobile home or travel trailer, and they want to leave it there for a while. So they're looking for places within walking or bicycling distance along Highway 94 or the Katy Trail where they can get meals, beverages, buy souvenirs, rent bicycles or canoes. And a lot of these businesses are benefiting, and I feel that this is a win-win-win situation. It benefits my employer because they have more profits when they have more customers. It benefits me as an employee. When I have more customers, I get more tips. This is more income for me and my employer. And it benefits the county because when these people from the RV parks spend money at these small family-owned, locally owned businesses in Defiance and nearby, they're paying sales taxes to St. Charles County. So it benefits you because the county has more revenue, the owners have more revenue, and the employees have income. We all pay more income taxes, They pay more sales taxes to the county. The county benefits, the employers benefit, and the employees benefit. It's good for everyone when you bring people from outside the area into St. Charles County who might otherwise simply drive through St. Charles County nonstop, get them to stop at the Beyond the Trail RV Park. When they stop and stay a while, they spend money at these locally owned businesses that are nearby. They're looking for places within bicycling or walking distance of the Katy Trail where they can buy foods, beverages, entertainment, recreation, social activities, souvenirs, whatever they're looking for. And this is good for the area. All of the local businesses are benefiting, the employees are benefiting, and the county benefits from the increased sales tax revenue. So it's a win-win-win situation for government, for labor, and for management.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding our application RZ 20-14? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate and resident. Mailing address is P.O. Box 1535 in O'Fallon. As you all know, the commission knows that I'm fair and I'm about fair treatment of all applicants. On one of the protest applications that was filed by Augusta Country LP, they cite one of the reasons for the remonstrance was they found out that no one else received any notification on the matter, or did Augusta County Limited Partnership did not receive any notification from the county. So my question to the chairman and the members and the staff to my right and the associate county counselor is, our county code gives somebody the responsibility of notifying property owners within a certain radius of the applicant. So I'd like for the record, who is responsible for notifying the property owners in a proper notification? I'd like that to be made part of the public record. I am for this development. It provides economic development. I have to admit, before looking at all the facts and circumstances, I was kind of opposed to it because this property lies solely within a floodplain. If they were going to elevate any additional buildings or provide any impact on flooding, I would have been opposed. But after looking into it further, I don't see where there will be any elevation, and that was the testimony from the applicant. I'm for this for emergency rescue and flood matters in case of an emergency, that it will provide an additional entrance and exit to the property. I think that that's very admirable and very important. The 3 written protests, will this trigger a remonstrance to the county council with the public hearing and the subsequent second vote at the end of January? I would like to add the following conditions. I didn't see any conditions from staff whatsoever. The following conditions is I've asked for in other RV parks throughout the county. I want to be fair to this applicant with all others. And storage areas is that the condition that that the applicant must tie down the trash dumpster, that the applicant must tie down any floatable items. A condition for the tie down, I saw in the video, an ice machine located on the property. In case of flooding, we don't want that to go downstream and cause havoc on somebody else's property. And finally, that there be a condition for tie downs on any benches and picnic tables that I saw in the video. I think it's only common sense. I don't think that's asking too much of the applicant. And for those reasons, I'd ask unanimous consideration and unanimous vote by the Planning and Zoning Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Deno. Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Niemeyer, 348 Arville Lane, Washington, Missouri.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'm speaking on behalf of my grandfather, Wayne Mortz. He is the general partner of Augusta Country Limited Partnership. We are the neighboring landowner to the west. We do actually farm the land next to it. We rent it from my grandfather. To answer Joe's question on the why it didn't get maintained this year on our part, it was underwater this spring when we planted. we couldn't get to it. And water on our land with agricultural, we are required, it's a farmed wetland, we cannot legally drain it. So whatever water is there at that elevation has to stay there. And that's part of our issue with what's going on there. When he built on, he did raise across the line a little bit, and we hold that much more water now. It used to run across his property years ago. I'm a terrible public speaker, I'm sorry.
It's okay, take your time.
Yeah, the current campground was elevated slightly, causing issues with water flow. Our property did drain to the north. The main issue is there's floodgates down at the end of them ditches. And at 23 feet on the Missouri River at St. Charles, those gates are closed. And none of the water in the bottom can leave anymore at that point. So when you get a big rain, or, you know, even some water does seep back up in them gates, it causes that whole area to flood. And if you could show that map again that you had, you can actually see in 2019 how deep the water actually was. If you notice on our property to the south, or to the west, that line where her arrow is as far as we were able to plant in 2019. And if you go over a little farther, you can follow them lines. That's the high water mark all the way around all that. In 2019 flooding. So everything back there was underwater, and on our property, there was 3 feet of water. So I'm not sure on his property how deep it was. I would guess 2. But basically, our issues was just backing up more water on our property. If he does elevate anything more, especially being on the other side of the ditch now, that it starts impeding the water flow. Like I said, he will be heading on to that over there. And then,
So Michael, how much water do you think is coming off of that property onto yours that's causing problems? And how many acres were you not able to plant in 2019?
in 2019,
And do you think it had anything to do with what he's doing currently?
I mean, honestly, it's not helping things, but it's not the direct reason, no.
Okay.
In 2019, we were able to plant 19 acres out of 40 right there. Last year, we had 12 acres, which is from that ditch back to the Katy Trail. We were unable to plant because it was underwater till, I believe, June 25th, and at that point, we were through crop insurance. It wasn't worth planting.
All right. And how many years have you had problems with flooding down there, too? I mean, it's been a problem
Yes,
a lot in St. Charles
we've
County.
farmed it 11 years now that we've been taking care of that place. And I believe we've harvested a crop 4 times out of it.
Oh, boy.
So it is underwater quite regularly back there. I did speak with several landowners in the area. None of them, everyone was notified this go around, but the 2015 approval, none of the landowners remember getting any written notice of anything, because they would have protested also at that point in time. But I mean, we thought we just oversight missed it, but I don't think 7, 8 people missed all that. I don't know what the deal was there. And I would like to note also that there was several other landowners that are opposed, but being that the gentleman is their commissioner, they didn't really want to speak up in public and cause any controversy later on. So but that's the gist of what I got. One other issue I do have with the campground actually being that it is in the middle of agricultural land. You know, we do apply pesticides. These campers don't have very good ventilation systems. You know, if we go put an insecticide on, these fields have 24-hour, you gotta stay out of them. I mean, I know it's our responsibility also, but what happens if somebody would get sick because of a pesticide we put out? You know, when we're doing everything perfectly legal, he's everything legal, but there is a chance that somebody could get sick there when you're in the middle of a farm field with a camper.
Okay, anything else, sir?
I think that's it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding application RZ 20-14? Anyone else? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Ask the applicant to come back. Does anyone have any additional questions for the applicant?
So I guess the one issue that was raised in if it's flooded 7 out of the last year, 11 years, so I guess, are things tied down in there, or how are things anchored?
Well, we closed for the year, so we're seasonal, all right? So we closed after the Christmas parade down in Defiance, the first week in December. We closed everything down. We're gonna put all the picnic tables up on the pavilion, tie them to the pavilion post, and then, of course, the dumpster. AC is right on this one. The dumpsters, we're gonna tie down the dumpsters, and we will tie down the ice box. That's Lonnie's from River City Ice. I can address that if you want to talk about that neighbor flood, I can address that issue. If you want to show that picture again, if it's even relevant, but.
There it is.
Yeah, go down, Ellie, go to the flood. We started that campground. I used to live in the house right there at the brewery. That's our house. I still own that. And that ground's been flooded. They own, I believe, 70 acres, I think, something like that. And I think that piece where the creek is 10 acres. And that 10 acres, I don't know if it, like you said, maybe farmed it 4 times. I don't ever hardly remember it being farmed. And I asked his father, Mr. Moritz, if he could clean out that ditch. Because me and Tommy Howe, see that ditch right there? It's got soot and everything in it. And so that swampy thing in the middle, it's been swampy like that forever with cattails and all kinds of stuff. The law is on that if it's swampy for 7 years, it becomes a floodplain, not if it gets water in it for 1 or 2 years, because then the government would be taking everyone's ground, right? And I tried to explain that to him. I said, you need to clean out that ditch and put the dirt in that hole, and it won't keep filling. To me, Tommy Howe's a farmer, and he sold me, the Howe family sold me all the ground. They own everything that away. And this gentleman, I've tried to be polite to him, but he haven't been polite to me at all, which is a whole other story. But I had asked him if he could clean his ditch out and all the swampy stuff and get it mowed and fill dirt in it so when it collect all the mosquitoes and everything. And if you don't manage your property, sure, it's gonna flow, the water's gonna hit its lowest point. And so when we put the gravel in, we put a ditch along there, a drainage ditch. So now if his property fills up, it flows to the creek. That whole creek, my property stops there, but the Howells went ahead and cleaned it up all the way down. If you go, keep going, where it turns, the creek turns, somewhere in that area. The Howells Tommy was climbing, he cleaned the whole thing out. Now our property flows fine, it drains, because we clean out all the soot. But they haven't, and I asked them to. So if you want to talk about flooding, I should be complaining to them, but I'm not doing that. It is what it is. So, like I said, it's in the floodplain, it's gonna flood. But you got to manage your property so it doesn't try to, if you let it wallow out. I think we had that flood, that 25-year flood 4 years ago or something, and it wallowed out the ground a little bit, and they could have filled it in from the soot. But anyway, any questions? I'm sorry.
How much elevation-wise, did he mention a rise in elevation? How much?
We put gravel down. We had to put 4-inch base down for the roads and everything. It's just like any other body to build you're gonna put the gravel down, and then we filled in between the sites topsoil to plant grass. But
maybe
6
inches of raise, or
6, 10, something like that. I can't really tell you, but all of our permits, we had to go through Army Corps of Engineers, DNR, state parks. I mean, we followed all the rules. Believe me, it took 3 years to get permits, and so we followed all the rules.
okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Being none, thank you, sir. We'll now bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any comments, questions, concerns, questions for staff?
We do have a lot of questions about notice. It seems to be a problem. Can you tell people how we give notice and specifically what we do on those properties so they kind of understand?
Well, this is zoned agricultural. What is it, 75% surrounding? If it's surrounded by 75% or more, then the notices go out 2,000 feet.
Right.
If it's less than that, it goes out 1,000 feet. We do use a computer tool on GIS to give us all the names that go out. We also have those records if anybody ever wants to check and see who they were mailed to.
Right.
They are available.
And when we do that, we actually we just mail them to a direct, just regular mail. And then there's signage put up down there saying there's public notices.
Yes, I did place a sign out. It's kind of difficult.
You try to put it in a place where people can see
You don't want to
it.
confuse people,
Yeah.
but we wanted to give notice to the area. So what I did was, there was a sign out here in front of the brewery, and I put it under that, and the sign is for the RV park. So I didn't want anybody to be confused with the brewery or anything like that, so, so we do, we do make that public notice. We do contact everybody. We use the tax assessors' mailing addresses, how they register with the county.
Do we ever receive some of those letters back in the mail and delivered, or?
Occasionally,
Okay.
we
Do you keep track of those?
Well, what happens is if they get it back, and Marissa could probably explain this better, but if they do get it back, we try and track down, but that's all we can use is what is registered with the county.
And I just want people to understand
Yeah.
what we're doing here. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Now, Elliot, back when we approved the RV park as is today, back in 2015,
Correct.
wasn't our distances less than what they,
Correct, it was 1,000 feet.
yeah. And because of that, we changed,
Yeah, because of that and some other rezonings, applications in the area, down in this rural area, basically, yes.
okay. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve application RZ 20-14.
So moved.
So Mr. Hollander made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Give that to Ms. Sally. Ms. Bamer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sally?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? I'll take that as a yes. Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
And
Sound like
I
a
vote yes. Application passes. Next item on our agenda is a rezoning request. Location is 1101 Dingledine Road. This is a revised application. It's application number RZ 20-13. Property owner is the Marlene C. Leffler Trust. Developer is Rouse Company. The current zoning is R1B, single-family residential district, 20,000 square feet minimum lot size with floodway fringe overlay district. Requested zoning is to rezone 12.2 acres to R3B multifamily residential district and 28.6 acres to R1E single-family residential district, 7,000 square feet minimum lot size. The 2030 master plan recommends low-density residential uses, which is defined as 0.25 to 1 acre minimum lot sizes. Parcel size is 40.8 acres. The location is on the west side of Dingledine Road, approximately 125 feet south of Pine Bluff Drive, near the cities of St. Peters and Weldon Spring, located in Council District 7. Staff.
You'll probably remember that at your November meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed a rezoning application for the same property. Followed a public hearing in November. The commission voted to recommend denial to the county council. And based on public feedback, the applicant is returning to Planning and Zoning Commission with a revised rezoning application, which increases the area of single-family zoning and decreases the area of multifamily zoning. Essentially, I kind of describe this as 40 acres in round numbers, and they're proposing to rezone about 12 acres to multifamily residential district and about 29 acres to single-family residential district. And that's the essence of what they're requesting here. I'd also note that on the same agenda, there's a related preliminary plat for this property. So much of the time, we receive a rezoning application that's more conceptual, and you don't necessarily know what is being proposed, if there's any concrete proposal. But in this case, we do, because on the same agenda, you'll see a plat, again, that's being proposed at the same time, and those are to be reviewed concurrently. Now, you may also know that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends rezoning application to the county council, so it's the county council makes the final decision, but this body actually approves plats. So should you decide to approve any plat that's on this agenda, that's your discretion. But if you would, just so you'll know, everyone would know the process, that would be subject to the rezoning request before the county council. So if the plat is approved here but not the rezoning, then the plat is moot. And I'm just pointing that out because the audience may want to know those details. I characterize the property as a kind of 40-acre island of undeveloped land within a larger area that's devoted to single-family residential uses. I went back and I looked at the zoning history and also the master plan history, just to see if we had any new information that we hadn't thought about before. I would add that the zoning is really very consistent in what it was in 1973. In 1973, you had multifamily zoning to the north. You had R1E single-family zoning to the east, west, and south, just like there is today. But what's happened is, since that time, developments have occurred within those zoning districts to leave this, again, an island, what I call an island. So Pine Bluff Villas subdivision was developed the north in the multifamily zoning district in 2000. Stafford Place subdivision, 1983. Emerald Woods subdivision, 1977. Shenandoah Park subdivision, 1977. Across Dingledine Road, Emerald Woods is zoned R1E, single-family residential, but they developed at a much larger minimum average lot size than that. So they're more about, I think it's around 1 acre, if I remember correct, but maybe the average. To the north of here, in that multifamily zoning district that's been existing for years, they developed a small lot, single-family residential development. To the south, under that R1E zoning, they developed a single-family residence subdivision, and likewise to the west, the same, R1E and a single-family subdivision. So I guess how I would characterize this is the developer is looking at this, essentially the same zoning as what's in adjacent developments. They're looking at, they're requesting about 12 acres of multifamily zoning that adjoins that existing multifamily zoning. And then the remainder of the tract, they're requesting the R1E single-family residential zoning that would be the same zoning as to the east and the south and the west. Having said that, you don't see necessarily one uniform development pattern in this entire area. It's just not the way it is. There's a little bit of a variety out there already. So the master plan, it does recommend low-density residential, and that is a broad brush for this entire area. And I looked back to see when that first occurred, and that low-density residential designation has been on the master plan since, I went back to 2003, and I didn't go beyond that, but it's been in place since 2003. So that low-density residential, the subdivisions that are within that, some conform to that and some do not. And I guess it really, the consideration here really boils down to whether you're looking for compatible zoning with surrounding developments, or you believe that this should remain what I would call an island of R1B zoning with a larger minimum lot size than all the rest of the subdivisions around it. I think that's how I would characterize how this boils down to. County staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the zoning map amendments as requested.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Drew Weber, Hamilton Weber Law Firm, 200 North 3rd Street, St. Charles, 63301. I'm here on behalf of Rouse Development for this rezoning proceeding. And staff, I'd like to thank staff that did a nice job of summarizing kind of the history, and I'm sure you all recall the rezoning last month. Since that time, we have spoken with several of the neighbors, primarily the ones in Stafford Place to the south, received some of their input. You all received a video from Mr. Jeff Reeves. Now, on the agenda, it's labeled as an opposition video, but actually it's a support video, and hopefully you all watched it, because he I think described well the traffic situation and his hopes for how this subdivision will complement his. And I think he's spot on it, and will discuss some similar findings to what he had. So here's the proposed rezoning now. You see it's, as staff said, 12.2 acres of R3B and 28.5 acres of R1E. I just want to go on record again, like last month, to say there are no multifamily homes or residences or apartments or multifamily dwellings of any kind proposed. Only single-family homes are proposed in this subdivision. For comparison purposes, the original plan is on your left and the revised plan is on your right. At the last meeting, some of the feedback we heard from the residents was that they wanted some larger lot sizes and fewer lots. And so we kind of flipped the ratio of the R1E zoning, which is 7,000 square foot minimum, and the R3B, which is 4,000 square foot minimum. So we flipped the ratios, and then we increased the lot sizes, which I'll get to in a second. I want to focus a few more minutes on the surrounding land use map that staff kind of mentioned. I think it's worth noting that every subdivision that touches this one is zoned R1E or R3B, except for on the southwest, there's a corner that touches an R1D zoning, which is just 10,000 square foot minimum. So none of these other subdivisions touching are R1B. They're all R1E. Even in Emerald Woods, which is to the east, has larger lot sizes. I mean, those homeowners could sell a group of lots, and a developer could come in and destroy the homes and put 7,000 square foot lots within that subdivision. So again, all of these are R1E or R3B with just one exception. It's also worth noting, if you look at the northeast and northwest of the properties, those R3B subdivisions, those are single family subdivisions. So it's true that directly north with Pine Bluff, you have attached triplexes, but to the northeast and northwest, those are straight up single family residential subdivisions that are zoned R3B. And that fits with the future land use map. Some of the comments from the residents seem to indicate that, well, if property is zoned R3B, then it doesn't fit with the low density land use called for in the master plan. But that's just not what the facts on the ground state, right? Again, if you look at the northeast and northwest of the property, you have two subdivisions that, if we go back, see they're zoned R3B, but they're yellow, which means low-density housing, 1 to 4 units per acre. And so that's exactly what's being proposed here. So as the staff mentioned, we'll get to the site plan later, but so here's kind of the overview of the property. Layout-wise, it's similar to the prior one, but with a reduction in number of lots and an increase in the lot sizes. So let's talk about some of those. What's proposed now is 119 homes, which if you take the total acreage of the property, 40.8 acres, 119 homes comes out to 2.9 homes per acre. Now, there was a concern at the last meeting. Some residents said, well, there's a lot of common ground on this property, so we're afraid that the actual density is higher, is above the 4 units per acre. So we took that into consideration. If you exclude the common ground now, even excluding the common ground, the density is 3.8, which is within the 1 to 4 units per acre called for by the master plan. This other information has stayed the same. The house size is anticipated to be 1,500 to 3,600 square feet. Sale price of between $300,000 and $500,000. 7-foot side yards for all the lots. I want to mention that too, that in the R3B and the R1E, what we've shown on the plat, and what we propose are 7-foot side yards, which meets the R1E standards. In the R1E, the minimum square footage is 7,000 square feet, but I want to point out that only 2 lots are less than 8,000 square feet. 35 lots are between 8 and 9,000. 23 are between 9 and 10, and 17 lots are greater than 10,000 square feet. Then in the R3B section, we have no lots under 7,000 square feet now. About half of them are between 7 and 8, and slightly less than half are between 8,000 up to a max of almost 12,200 in the R3B. So here's a good comparison of the prior proposal and the changes we've made to help address the residents' concerns. So you can see a reduction of 19 homes from 138 to 119, the number of homes per acre from about 3.4 to about 2.9. Previously, the proposed number of lots in the R1E district was 28. Now we're up to 77, so it's almost triple. The minimum lot size, there are 2 lots that are about 7,000 square feet, but all the rest of them are minimum 8,400 in the R1E, which is in line with the prior proposal. And the average lot size is about 9,500 square feet in the R1E, which is in line with the prior proposal. So the significant changes are in the R3B. We've decreased that by more than half, from 110 lots to 42. The minimum lot size has increased by almost 1,000 square feet, from 6,500 to about 7,500. And the average lot size has increased by about 750 square feet, from 7,357 to 8,100. And so how we did that was by increasing the lot widths. As you can see previously, the proposal was a mix of 54-foot, 62-foot, and 72-foot lots, with some weighting towards the smaller width lots. Now there's a much more even distribution of 62-foot, 70-foot, and 80-foot lots. The 62-foot lots are in the R3B section, and that's the reason for keeping the R3B, because that's on the northern portion of the property where you have some of the floodplain and hills, and just kind of an awkward fit up there, getting the narrower lots. You still meet the 7,000 square feet, but the lots are just slightly narrower to fit with the topography and the boundaries up there. So here, you've seen this map, but here's the overview aerial map of the surrounding subdivisions. And there's been a lot of concerns about how does this proposal fit with the surrounding subdivisions. So I just like to go through and we can analyze each subdivision and the houses and creator farms that are adjacent to those subdivisions. So first is Emerald Woods. There's a lot of residents from Emerald Woods and the HOA as well that submitted comments. Emerald Woods is zoned R1E. There's about 1 home per acre. The average home size is between 1,800 and 3,600 square feet. You can see, though, that while a lot of the homes are about 1 acre, the homes that are adjacent to Dingledine, those lots are smaller. Those are about a ½ acre. And then you see the sale price there based on public records for recent sales in the subdivision. So in Creeder Farms, what we've proposed now is all of the lots along Dingledine are at least 8,000 square feet. And of the 14, so there's 14 lots fronting on Dingledine, 6 are between 8 and 9,000, and then 8 are larger than 9,600. So you don't have 1 acre lots adjacent to 7,000 square foot lots. Instead, you have the half-acre lots in Emerald Woods adjacent to Dingledine. And then on the Creeder Farm side, you have a mix of 8,000 and above square foot. Then Cambridge Crossing, this subdivision doesn't touch, but there were some residents from Cambridge Crossing who submitted comments too. This is a similar subdivision to what we proposed, zoned R1E, about 3.5 homes per acre. Average home size 1,500, 2,500 square feet. Average lot size 8,000 to 10,500 square feet. I do want to make a note that these are the most common, or the average sizes. There are definitely corner lots that are 20,000 square feet. There's some houses that exceed or are less than what's shown here, but these are the most common because these subdivisions are huge, right? There's hundreds and hundreds of homes, so there's a wide variety. The average lot width is 75 to 85 feet, and this subdivision is located to the southeast, and so there's no real adjacency or a limited view of the property. Now, Stafford Place, this is the subdivision directly to the south. It's residents of this subdivision that we've had the most contact with. You can see it's zoned R1E, 3.2 homes per acre. If you take out their common ground, it's 3.3. That's right in line with Creeder Farms. The house size, average lot size, again, that's in line with what we're proposing. 1,900 to 2,500 square foot homes, 8,500 to 10,500 square foot lots. Again, the corner lots are bigger, but the lots that aren't on the corner are in that range. So because of the comments received from some of those residents, we again put larger lots along the south. So there are 14 lots adjacent to Stafford Place. Of the 14 lots, none of them are less than 9,600 square feet. 5 are actually larger than 10,000, with the largest being over 19,000 square feet. So none of the smaller lots are adjacent to Stafford Place. So the Stafford Place homes are the relative same size and relative same lot size as what's being proposed on the southern boundary of Creeder Farms. As we move to the southeast, we have West Hampton Place. This is the only property that isn't zoned R3B or R1E. The density is a little lower here, 2.5 homes per acre. And the houses are a little bigger than some of the surrounding subdivisions, although still within the range of what we've proposed here. And the average lot size is about 10,000 square feet because it's a R1D zoning district. An average lot width, 80 feet, and then the homes are selling between 300 and 500,000, which is again in line with what we're proposing. I'd like to note though, if you look at the map, so West Hampton is to the southwest of Creeder Farms. And if you look at the northeast portion of the map up there, it's perhaps a little hard to see, but there are no lots in West Hampton that are adjacent to Creeder Farms because they have common ground back there. And you can see this picture is taken from West Hampton Place Court, and it's looking over into where the Creeder Farms, or the Leffler Farm, that's who owns it now, the Leffler Farm tract is. You can see there's a lot of trees there. That's because that's part of their common ground, and then part of the trees on the farm. Well, that area is going to stay common ground under the Creeder Farms proposal. So those trees aren't going to move, so that's going to provide a visual buffer between the two subdivisions. Now Shenandoah Park, that's directly to the west, also zoned R1E. You see the amount of homes per acre, about 3.5, which is actually more than Creeder Farms. These are smaller home sizes, 1,000 to 1,700 square feet. The lot size, 7,500 and 9,000, and these are narrower lots too, 65 to 70 feet. Similarly, with West Hampton, no lots in Shenandoah Park will be adjacent to lots in Creeder Farms because they have common ground. Actually, Floodplain Creek, for a portion of it, to their east. And then the Creeder Farms proposal is to have common ground to the west. So there's going to be the tree buffer. And you can see here, this is a picture taken from between the houses in Shenandoah Park. You can kind of see the farm. I mean, basically through the trees with all the leaves down, you can kind of see the farm. But those trees aren't going anywhere, so there's still going to be a buffer between these subdivisions. Nottingham Forest, this is to the northwest. This is zoned R3B, right? This is one of the subdivisions I mentioned that's zoned R3B, but is a single-family home subdivision. The density is, again, similar to what we're proposing, a little higher, 3.1 homes per acre. These home sizes are a little smaller, 900 to 1,600 square feet, and the lot sizes are 9 to 10,000 square feet. Lot width, most of them are 70-foot lots. And again here, no lot in Nottingham Forest will directly border Creeder Farms. You have, again, common ground in the tree area. And in fact, on Creeder Farms, the northwest portion, there's a huge, and you'll see it when we get to the preliminary plat, but there's a huge tree section, and again, floodplain that will provide a very significant buffer in that portion of the property. Then lastly is Pine Bluff to the north. That's the triplex subdivision. It has a low overall density because there's a huge area of common ground. If you take away their common ground, it's 5.5 homes per acre. Because those are attached, they're a little bit smaller home size, definitely a lot smaller lot size and lot width than what's proposed in Creeder Farms. And there is some elevation change, so there is a retaining wall on the back of those triplexes that's between Creeder Farms and the Pine Bluff subdivision. So we, as you can see, with the exception of Emerald Woods, these subdivisions are generally homes in the 1,500 to 2,500 or 3,000 square foot range. These lots are generally between 7 and 10 or 10,500 square foot lots. The lot widths are usually 70 to 80 feet, which is exactly in line with what we're proposing. So there were some other comments, though, that were concerns about public services, and specifically on schools. So I want to address those as well. Cosley Elementary, that's the nearest school. It's just down Dingledine from these properties. And some residents raised concerns about, well, could the schools be able to handle additional students? So here's enrollment information or statistics from Cosley since 1991. You can see it peaked out in 1995, almost 1,500 students. There's been a slow but relatively steady decline since then. A little bit of an uptick this year, but it was at 841 students at the beginning of this year. So obviously more than 600 students off its peak, and even from 10 years ago, about 100 students down. So the addition of 119 homes is not going to add 600 students. So Cosley Elementary certainly has enough capacity to take on some additional students. And similarly with the middle school that serves this area. Bryan Middle School, I could only get enrollment information back to 99. I believe that's when the school opened. You can see it peaked out in 2005, almost 1,100 students. Again, a steady, slow decline. Now it's down to about 812, which is a decline of over 100 in the past 10 years as well. So this school, too, certainly has capacity for additional students. And even with the additional students from this subdivision, Bryan Middle School would be not anywhere close to its peak 15 years ago. I showed these last time, and I just wanted to remind everyone, here are some of the elevations proposed for this subdivision. There are certainly more, but I didn't want to bore you with 16 different elevations. But so here are some of the ranch homes that would be proposed. And then here you have some of the mid-range two-story homes on the property. And then these would be some of the larger homes on some of the larger lots. These homes would be closer to the 3,000 and up square foot range, as well as 3-car garages, as you can see. So in short, after meeting with the residents, listening to them, listening to the last hearing, we tried to really take a lot of their considerations into account. So, and we think this subdivision, it does meet the master plan requirements, right? 2.9 homes per acre, that's within the 1 to 4 units per acre. And that's similar to every subdivision except Emerald Woods. The lot size, similar to every subdivision except the one outlier of Emerald Woods. Their rezoning, R1E and R3B, similar to every subdivision except one. The proposed homes in Creeder Farms are larger than the homes in several of the surrounding subdivisions. And I think if we learned anything else as St. Charles County residents this year, is that even in the pandemic, people still want to move to St. Charles County. I grew up in this area. I grew up off Towers. Now I live off Cox Hill. I had friends in these subdivisions. It's a great area to grow up. It's great to have kids grow up. I have kids. And again, we live off Cox Hill. So we think this would be another good addition to the area. Get rid of kind of the last remaining island. And we ask for your support and recommendation of approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the applicant?
You mentioned that every house has a 7-foot side yard. So how far is it between two houses? 14 feet?
Right, so that's the county's requirement in the R1E zoning district. And so that's the minimum requirement.
That's the minimum?
Right. So, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, you got some curves on some streets, and so there's wider side lots, and, there's different house sizes, so there will be more than 14 in some.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. McDonald, you have any questions?
Hopefully not, right?
Might want to call it again.
I don't think he has any questions. Anyone else? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for application RZ 20-13. This is the public hearing for the rezoning request. So those coming forward will talk about the rezoning request, issues of runoff, water, stormwater issues, those types of things would be discussed in the preliminary plat. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak can come forward.
Can I do it after I speak? Fill in the card? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mark Atchley, 4388 West Hampton Place Court. That was my house. They showed up on the thing. It's kind of surprising to see your own house there. I just like, and I'm a trustee on the board for West Hampton Place, and we are the neighborhood to the southwest of the subject property. And while it is, certainly better than the November issue, I think there's a few things that were, maybe skipped over or glossed over. I think the lot width thing is really important because, as I think you mentioned, somebody was asking about the lot width between. If you're talking about a 62-foot lot width, which about a third of those homes are, in our neighborhood, the lot widths are, average interior lots are over 80 feet. The average interior lots in the Cambridge Crossing and some of the other ones, excluding Emerald Woods, those are 75 to 80 feet, and he even put it up there correctly. Emerald Woods, of course, is over 100 feet. And so I think that while we talk about the zoning R1E, I think we should talk about what's really built around there. Ours is R1D, which is 10,000 square feet, but the width of those lots, so as you think about a home that is on a lot that's 62 feet wide, you take away 14 feet, 7 feet on each side, which is here to there on each side of the home, and now you're talking about 48 feet. Those homes, again, just like last time, those homes that were there are not the ones that nobody's concerned about the 80 square foot, the 80-foot wide lot on the south edge that looks really nice. I mean, we love those homes. We'd love those homes to be there. We're concerned about the higher density in the north half of this 12 acres of R3B, where you have these narrow lots where houses are jammed together, more like a city lot that's long and narrow rather than nice and wide. You've got parking issues, you've got safety issues with cars on the street because you've got, no place to park. In addition to traffic, and I know that's a different thing. And so I think that's an important thing. Another important thing is when the picture of my house was there, that picture is taken to the north, not the northeast. Can you get that overhead, Ms. Mayor? The overhead of the, where you had the map view? Because I think it's important to understand what's between these neighborhoods, because it is, can I walk over here and?
Take the microphone with you, sir.
Oh, that's different now.
It should just slip out.
Oh, I'm not qualified for this, I'm not sure. Okay, so if you'll back out a little bit. Okay, and now I'm not tall enough. So this is the power cut along here, and a power cut that goes right up here. And that is a 75-foot wide, is that right, Amy? 75-foot power cut, and they mowed it down. I mean, it's down to mulch. There's nothing there at all in that 75-foot width. And so this is where that picture was taken, and it was taken this way. You can't really get that way. And there's no way for them to get a picture except to go around back here. The elevation changes. This is probably about 40 feet above the creek right here. So all these homes, and these homes even over here even higher, so they all look out over this direction. So even when there's trees there, we're well above the tree line. They come every 5 years, and we call it Avatar Day or Avatar Week, when they come in with their large machines and their saw blades on long arms, and it's quite the sight to see. And so these homes on this side of our neighborhood, although we don't border it very much, we do look directly onto those. Realize that those south lots are wider lots that would probably have those bigger homes, but our concern again is on that north side where you're starting to get narrower, and why they need the R3B is to get those very narrow lots where you have very narrow homes. So that's our concern with that. And again, I want to point out that that is different than the zoning. It's really compatible with the building style and the neighborhoods around there, not to have 62-foot wide lots. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to point out is, if you'll scoot over there, and I'll just point from here, where you can see Emerald Woods, I think it's important whenever we say that house, 4028 or 1108, whatever, that's half acre versus 9,000. Well, a half acre is 22,000 square feet versus even 9,000. It's less than half right across the street. So I don't want it to be characterized that, they're very similar, 9,000 versus only a half acre. That's still half the size of the lot, and I think that's important to point out. Let's see, make sure. I think I hit all my points. Yeah, and I would say that we wouldn't see that proposed plat we would not see that as consistent with low density. When you talk about a house that's 48 feet wide on a 62-foot wide lot, I think that, even though single-family home, I think we'd characterize that, at least, I don't know what the definition of that is, but we would certainly characterize that as not low-density housing. As I look at it and just very briefly look at it, if they were just to make the minimum of the R3E, I think they would lose maybe 4 lots. And that would still be pretty narrow lots, but it doesn't seem like they're that far away from R3E, which still isn't the same as the building, consistent with the building around it, but at least it doesn't have the R3B. So that's what I have.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Oh, don't forget to fill your card out.
Yeah, that's right.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joyce Leffler Reitmeyer. I live at number 7 Harris Drive, St. Peters, Missouri.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So last month, we heard from a lot of the people in Emerald Woods and some of the other surrounding neighborhoods. that those neighborhoods adjoin my mother's property. So I just thought, as some of the other family members did too, that it's time that some of the other property owners in the neighborhoods kind of heard what my mother had to deal with over the years, as did myself and my siblings. So my mother's name was Marlene Catherine Crater Leffler, okay? She was born on that property 87 years ago. She was born in a brick house, she and her sister, and she lived on that property her whole life, not in that brick house, but in that white house that you see on the map. I believe, and I may not have this right, I don't know, the dates on all the facts, but I believe her grandparents purchased that property. So that property's been in the family for 3, maybe 4 generations. I'm not sure how long, but it's been a long time. My mother was married, and she lost her husband, my dad, when he was 51. He died at a young age. He actually was trying to help out a woman. She was slightly disabled. There had been a snowstorm, and her car got stuck on Dingledine Road. Actually, it was on Emerald Wood side, about 3 houses down. He died of a massive heart attack trying to help her out of the snow ditch. I was there that day. I was the first one there when he died. Okay. So she ended up raising the 6 children on her own, and she didn't even drive. She was a very private person, kept to herself, that kind of woman, simple woman. So I wanted to point out some of the things that she had to deal with. So her house being right across from Emerald Woods, whenever somebody was coming out of there, that drive or going in, her living room faced that, entrance. She always had the lights at night. She had to put up heavy drapes, had to, pull the drapes shut so she could watch TV at night, okay? Okay, before Dingledine Road got widened, I know there were several times, because she called me every day and talked to me, especially when she had a problem or was upset about something. I know that over the years, several times, cars had hit her mailbox, and then people would stop in the middle of the night, and this was kind of before cell phones too, and they'd come to her door. I remember there was a young woman one time, hit the mailbox. I believe her head was bloodied. She came to the door, knocking on the door one night, wanted to use my mom's phone, call her dad. She was all upset. Her car was pretty bad shape. Okay, if they didn't hit the mailbox, there was a whole row of pine trees along there too. Sometimes when they missed the mailbox, they'd hit a pine tree, okay? I don't think one ever actually ended up in her yard, but the mailbox and pine trees sort of helped that situation along. So then when it came time to widen Dingledine Road, guess who gave the property so the road could get widened? It was on her side. She gave up the property on her side and those 5 beautiful pine trees that had been there for years and years and years. Okay, so then after the widening got done, the mailbox got moved. That mailbox where it was right there on top of the road, was really dangerous for her to get the mail. I know because I had to go out and get it a lot of times too. I mean, when you got cars coming at you on Dingledine doing 35, 40 miles an hour, you're facing them and you're trying to reach in, get the mail, and you got a curb there, it's dangerous. So the last few years, people would bring her mail in. Let's see, what else? Oh, in 1988, April 3rd, she had a hay shed that was burned on the property. I remember she called me that night. I don't believe the fire department could get down there to put it out, so it had to burn on its own till it, went out. And there was a tractor in that shed too that burnt up. And I believe the fire department ruled that it was arson, was probably kids playing in there. There was another machine shed, well, it's still there, and I know that from time to time, my brothers would go down there and check on things, and they had found evidence that, you know, children had been playing in there, had left toys, or had left, you know, had left things behind. And I know one time in the woods where Stonecroft is at now, that they actually found some kind of a like makeshift tent or something, and they found evidence of marijuana being used. There was like seeds, and I'm not sure, but probably it could have been some growing up there too on that hillside. My mom broke her knee maybe, I want to say 12, 15 years ago, and she was in rehab because she was non-weight bearing. Okay, at that time, I remember that one of the homeowners, and I'm not sure which subdivision it was, had complained because there was a tree, I guess it was close to her property line, and apparently it was hollowed out, and some kids had started a fire in there, and she was afraid that the tree was going to fall on her house. Actually, I don't remember how that was resolved, but it was on common ground. I don't remember, but she was in the nursing home and had to deal with that on top of trying to recuperate from knee surgery. I recall that someone, I'm not sure if it was in Nottingham Forest or Shenandoah Park, had called and complained one time that there were leaves falling in their pool from the leaves from on Mom's property were falling in their pool. Well, cover your pool, move your pool. Those trees were there long before these people built their homes. And I remember Mom saying to them, her response to that was, well, I can fix that. I can put that property up for sale. Then those trees will be gone, and you can look at the neighbors' backyards. Never had another complaint about trees, about leaves in a pool after that. Let's see. Oh, the gentleman mentioned about the easements and the grass growing on those easements or that. Yes, we've had to put up with utility companies coming through over the years wanting easements on her property so that power lines, the sewer, water, all these things could be added to all these new homes that were being built in these subdivisions. Okay, so we had to get attorneys, she had to go through all that hassle. And then when these companies want to come back to check on their equipment or cutting down their trees, trimming whatever they're doing, well, sometimes they would knock on the door and ask permission to go through. Many times they didn't ask permission. They just drove across her property to get to where they needed to be. And when they did that, they left ruts on the ground. And then I've been told over the years too, and just recently my brother was saying that some of the homeowners there in Stafford Place were throwing wood over their fence on Mom's property. Also, there's always been grass clippings and things like that thrown on her side too over the years. And then with the sidewalk being on Mom's side of the property, her side of the road, people are constantly walking their dogs, and you know what dogs do, what they leave behind. So when you went to get the mail or cut grass, you had to watch where you were walking. Let's see, what else? Before Stonecroft, I guess, was built, that there was a nice hillside, and I remember as a kid, we would sleigh ride on that hill. Well, in the wintertime, Mom's kitchen window would face, you could see that hillside, and when kids were out of school and they had a snow day, she'd see kids on that hill on their sleighs, never asked permission, She was worried many, many times about somebody getting hurt and always being sued. Always worried about somebody getting sued. Her getting sued, you know, from somebody doing something stupid on her property. I mean, she's had people, when the fields had corn in it, they'd be asking, could they have some of the corn stalks for Halloween decorations? Could they walk their dogs on her property? You know, all the time, somebody bothering her about something. Are just realtors over the year constantly begging her to sell, you know, but she held on to it for a long time. And, you know, our family certainly has enjoyed it over the years, and I think the people in these surrounding neighborhoods have enjoyed it too, walking their dogs, looking at the trees and the, you know, scenery. So, but she was, like I said, a private person. She just wanted to be left alone. She didn't ask for all this neighborhoods and subdivisions around her. So
Thank you, ma'am.
I thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding RZ 20-13? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or in the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Richard Brooks, and I got a short video.
This is an aerial from before all the subdivisions were built, where everything was farmland.
Can we turn the sound up?
This is what it looks like today. As you can see, this is the last piece of the original Loeffler farm. What you might not know is that Mrs. Loeffler's maiden name was Creeder. Creeder Farms will be her lasting legacy, but the builder's small proposed R3B lot sizes will barely fit a tiny garden. This is me trying to leave my driveway each morning. The cars leaving this new subdivision will face a similar problem. This is due to the stop sign down the road at Castillo Drive that causes a traffic wavelength which creates equal phase spacing between cars. This makes it very difficult to pull onto Dingledine Road and get up to speed. I currently have to back into my driveway because trying to back out onto Dingledine is so dangerous. Cars approaching from the south will also face difficulty due to the lack of a left turn lane. The current small section, which will be converted, does not have required space for a deceleration zone of over 200 feet with a 15-to-1 taper ratio. Another traffic issue is that Dingledine Road is the main artery which feeds all of the neighborhoods in the area. This intersection where it meets Old Highway 94 gets clogged during rush hour. This is an example of what I see every day, with cars backed up to the daycare. This subdivision will be adding an additional 240 cars daily to this already problematic area. This is Castillo Elementary School, which boasts a A+ rating and a low 13-to-1 student-teacher ratio. These numbers could definitely change with an influx of 120 families. I see the elementary school numbers being affected the most, being that these are homes marketed to new families. These are just some of the issues I see for current neighbors, along with our new neighbors, should this zoning be approved. The St. Charles County zoning website states that all property owners within 1,000 feet must be notified of a zoning application. I believe this rezoning will greatly affect homeowners in the area, but I wanted opinions of others, so I asked my neighbor what he thought. He stated he did not receive a letter. That is because the city took their measurement from the center of the property and only notified the houses in the green circle. This is only a small percentage of the 425 houses which are actually within 1,000 feet, as shown in the yellow circle. I know that when the county measures for my property taxes, they make sure and get every square foot, which makes me question why they took the measurement like this. It also makes me wonder if the property was another 200 feet wider, would I have been notified at all?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
James Owen, 4151 Stafford Place Court, St. Charles.
Go ahead, Mr. Owen.
Our main issue is with the R3B zoning. R3B is outlined in the 2030 master plan as, and I quote, housing units, usually multi-storied, multifamily buildings, apartments, condominiums, senior housing, etc., and also possibly townhomes and villas. I found it interesting that he didn't show any pictures of the R3B area that is in question. So what guarantees do we have that they won't build any of these multi-story apartments or buildings? And also to Mrs. Leffler, I'm sorry if I don't have your name wrong, she pointed out how bad the traffic has been her whole life there. And now we're going to add the possibility of even more traffic. So my issue is once you complied with the rezoning from R1B to R3B, there'll be no denying if they come back and resubmit a new plot. I mean, they would be within their right to come back in a year and say, well, we haven't built that R3B yet. We're going to put a new plot out, and we're going to put apartments in here. What guarantees do we have that they won't do that? I don't know that they can give us a guarantee. Can they not just resubmit a new plot in 6 months and say, this one didn't work? They've already submitted 2. So those are our main issues, and I would just ask that you please deny the R3B. Thank you.
James?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think they should do with that property?
Oh, make it a park like the other farm? Just west, there's a really nice farm that they made a wonderful park.
So you think the county should buy it and make a park out of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm sorry, ma'am, we're not talking to you, I'm talking to James. So what you should do is come to the county council and ask them to do that.
I will do that,
Okay.
yeah. No, that makes the most sense for the community. And when you look at the master plan online, you know, I didn't even know about it till I heard Richard talk about it at the last meeting. I was like, 2030 master plan? What is that? So I went and looked at it, and I'm like, oh, well, it really clearly outlines like how they want the community to be. And there's plenty of variety. Last time they were here, they said, well, we wanted the R3B for variety. Well, there's plenty of variety north of that line. North of the property, there's R3B, there's plenty of variety. Everything south of that line is R1B and single family. So my request would be that we vote against the R3B rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Debbie Ferrer, 1108 Dingledine Road, St. Charles, Missouri, 63304.
Okay, go ahead, David.
So first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for inviting us here to speak and tell you what we think about things. It's apparent from the number of letters and emails that you've received already that I think you know that we care about the neighborhood, and we're not just making trouble because we want to. I know that we had a bigger crowd last time, and I think that with COVID and everything going on, there's a lot of people that didn't come just because of that. So I also want to give our condolences to the Leffler family because I went through a similar situation with my mom. We lost my dad from a heart attack in the snow, helping somebody else, exactly, same situation. And so I completely understand. My mom was 62, didn't drive.
Your comments this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
But I just want to say I feel your pain, and we had a small farm, and it's kind of that same situation where people do all these bad things to you and just expect you to take it, but they aren't respectful of your property, so I understand that. So I want you to know we're not against building on there. We're not saying it has to stay a farm. I'm not even saying it needs to be a a park. I'm just saying that I think we need larger houses there that's more commensurate with what's in that neighborhood. We understand that's not going to stay the way it is. It's just the way the world works. You know, and when the developers speak, Drew was speaking, and I hear this every time I talk about this with other neighbors. It's like, they're saying that they want to do this, but they're not saying why they don't want to do it the original way, because that's the way it was originally zoned, and that's what we expected it to be. But they don't really give reasons as to why they can't go with that plan, which was the approved plan anyhow, instead of rezoning it to put smaller houses and smaller lots to that. How will this actually benefit the community and the neighborhood for the outlying neighbors? And then I thought another good point he made is, well, you know, those Emerald Woods people could sell their house to somebody and they could split that up into 2 lots. So then the past person that was just talking, he was saying, you know, well, what keeps them from making a multifamily? Well, wouldn't that be the same thing? I mean, he's saying they could sell the Emerald Woods lot, make extra houses. So if he says R3B, we're only going to put single family, but it's R3B, so he could really do what he wants eventually. He could, you know, break it up into smaller lots. Excuse me. And then I thought it was interesting too. He said, we spoke with the neighbors, and we're very happy to speak to anybody, but no one ever actually came to us and said anything. And I actually spoke to some people down in Cambridge Crossing that I know, and they said they never got a letter too, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And they weren't very far down the street there. And I think he says, you know, well, 9,000 square foot lots, there's not a big difference between what's across the street. Well, a half acre and 9,000 is a big difference. 9,000 compared to 20-some thousand, that's a great difference. And so I think we need to think about that. And the larger lots on that one side, I guess they didn't really say that, but isn't that because of the power lines and the easement? Isn't it why those are larger lots? I think that's the whole purpose of why those are our larger lots, not because they're trying to give us anything due to that. It's just because that's the way it has to be. And we live actually across the street, directly across the street. And Loeffler Farm, the house, actually sits here. We sit right here. And I know exactly what she's talking about traffic, because we've already lost like 3 mailboxes. We had brand new concrete apron and everything poured with all new concrete after we moved in. That's just like in pieces because people keep hitting it. And that's why we've lost so many mailboxes. And also the fact that we can't get our mail from the street because it's too dangerous. So we had to put in a mailbox where you could open it from the other side because we can't get through there. And then the traffic, you know, is bad all the time. And then we didn't really bring it up because it probably is just a thing. But, you know, the wildlife, we do see those deer come by from our house over there to our house and back. And I think that putting those big houses, those little houses there, will give them less room to go and less room to get where they're at. I think that we need to keep with the architecture of the area and kind of keep things the way they are now. And with the 2030 master plan the way it was, I think that you do that. And I think I got through my list. But I did want to say thank you for letting us speak today, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good holiday.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate and resident, mailing address, P.O. Box 1535, in O'Fallon. First of all, I'd like to request a Planning and Zoning Commission and staff. We keep hearing this issue about notification at every public hearing, and it needs to be a matter of public record, and there needs to be some transparency. I asked the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission to instruct the Director of Planning and the members of the staff to start making part of the planning packet, Planning Commission packet, and supporting documents, the entire notification list. They do this in the city of O'Fallon, they do this in the city of Wentzville, and the city of St. Charles. They put the actual person's name, address, when it was mailed, if it came back returnable. Why not be upfront and transparent with the process? So I ask that you have a discussion at the end of the meeting to instruct staff to take on that transparency and to take on that notification list. Now, the 25 households, I won't bore you with my testimony from last month. It's already a matter of public record, and I ask that it be made public record here, as I don't see much change from last month's plan to this month's plan. 25 households speaks volumes that citizens care about their neighborhood. Everybody cares about their property values, but most importantly at stake here is the traffic safety, the safety of the neighborhood, and the quality of life of this area. Like I said, not much has changed from last month's proposition to this month's application. I think that all the residents and myself are asking you to do is to do the right thing, to put yourself in their shoes. We would like to see this Planning and Zoning Commission get rid of the multifamily of this development and make it all single-family R1 to put it to bed. We all know that the family wants to sell the property. We get it. We want them to comply and be like the surrounding neighborhood and make it R1. We want some type of guarantee that there's not going to be multifamily, and that if this plan fails or if they sell it to another developer next year or the year after, that they don't want to put up 3-story apartment type housing, apartment complexes. So let's guarantee the residents and let's put them at ease here. It comes down to, is this a convenience of an island, or is this politics in the selection of who represents the applicant? Now, I would like the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider a condition, and I'd like a compromise. I haven't heard much compromise here. I've heard it all go for the applicant and very little compromise for the adjoining neighborhoods. I would like to see a condition placed by the Planning and Zoning Commission on this item, since there were 0 recommendations of your county staff, that we have a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. That's a fair compromise. It will decrease the density and it'll make it more palatable for the adjoining neighborhoods to understand and to accept this concept. I would like that the lot width, that the compromise be a minimum of 70 to 72.5 feet for frontage. That will again cut down on the density, make it more palatable, keep the property values up. The smaller you get, the denser you get, the lower property values for the adjoining neighborhoods. There needs to be a compromise in this issue. And like I said, I haven't seen much compromise. On the north of the property is of concern, is there's some creeks, and it's in the floodway fringe and the floodway overlay district. That's concerned. Concerns that there may be flooding, additional erosion, and there will be an impact on the people who will inhabit this land and the other subdivisions as we take up that saturation point. And as of concern, you've heard over and over, is the 2030 master plan, which I went to most of those comprehensive meetings. There were 20-some people that were on that commission, including Robert Myers, the Director of Planning. And it recommends, quote, low-density residential, 1 to 4 dwellings per acre. That's what the recommendation is low-density residential. I ask you to take into effect these conditions and place them on this property. It's a fair compromise. I think it's the right thing to do. And I would encourage you to make those conditions and make it palatable, make some type of compromise so all parties can live together in harmony, safety, and care about their community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gilbert Ballman. I live at 84 West Hampton View Court. What I'm concerned about is the R3 zoning for multifamily dwellings on the property. And then the other major concern is traffic. I live off of Stonecroft. We have an issue now with people using it as a main thoroughfare to get over to Kisker. This place is totally isolated. You only have one way out, that's Dingledine, and you can't go out Dingledine to 94 because it's a madhouse. It's very congested. The only other way is Stonecroft. When we have an issue with speeding there, the police have not responded very well, and they've refused to put any type of traffic controls on Stonecroft. And adding at least 200 more cars to that area is going to compound it tremendously. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Okay, go for it. No. Yes.
No, you spoke. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing for RZ 20-13. Ask the applicant to return. Any questions for the applicant?
Do you want to address any of their concerns and comparisons and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I'd be happy to address some of those. So there were some questions and comments about the appropriateness of the lots in the R3B area, right? The 62-foot width lots, those will be in the R3B area up to the north, which will be adjacent to a subdivision that has 40 to 50 square foot lots. And then again, to the northwest is a subdivision that has 65-foot width lots. So if we're talking about being in compliance with neighboring subdivisions, that portion of the property is in compliance with those neighboring subdivisions. And then the southern portion of the property is where the 80-foot lots are, which, as we heard, that's what's in West Hampton. That's similar to what's in Stafford Place and Cambridge Crossing, which are down on the southern portion of the property. I understand that Emerald Woods is an outlier. Those are large lot subdivision, or that is a large lot subdivision. But in fairness, it is the only one. And if we're talking about compliance with the area, that subdivision is not the comparison. It's all the others that are the comparison that show what's truly the predominant development in the area. The last thing I think that I really want to address is this concern about, well, what if we just pull a fast one and put apartments on the R3B? I guess there's a couple things to address with that. For one, that's why we're here with the preliminary plat, right? To say, hey, this is what we're proposing. And if you think about the approval process, so we have a preliminary plat that shows single-family homes on the R3B and the R1E portion. So then there's a final plat, right, and improvement plans. And so if we then try and switch to apartments for the final plat stage, that's a major change. It requires us to come back for a preliminary plat. It's entirely different infrastructure to install if you're going to do apartments, right? I mean, we're showing streets and stormwater detention basins, water connections based on single-family home subdivision. There's just no way you can, that we could flip in the midst of building single-family on the southern portion and then have all the infrastructure in place for an apartment complex. I mean, that's just not practical. That's just not how development works. And again, that's why the preliminary plat has been submitted, so that everyone can see what's actually being proposed. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have, and then some of the stormwater, traffic things, line of sight things we can discuss for the preliminary plat.
So I guess the question that's begging to answer is, why not just all R1E? Everybody's happy. It makes, the lot size has to be a minimum width, so that automatically kicks in. You're not going to have a great deal of difference in number of lots. Why not that?
Right. So there will be a difference in the number of lots, first of all, right?
How many?
And I'd have to do the math on the northern portion. I mean, I don't know right here. So you could say that with any subdivision, with any of these subdivisions, right? Well, why did the R3B ones to the north? Why did they not develop?
Well, a lot of that was in floodplain, though.
No, the only floodplain is a small section directly to the north is floodplain,
that's what I'm
but the
talking
northwest
about,
and northeast R3B subdivisions are not. The fact is perfectly allowable under the code and perfectly consistent with subdivisions of the northeast and northwest to have single-family homes in R3B zoning. I mean, that's what's predominant up on that north part of the property. And even if you go over directly west of Shenandoah, I mean, those are not large lots and large lot widths like what you have to the south. I mean, that's really what's happening here is you have smaller lots and smaller lot widths up north. We're continuing that transition down south.
I think it's not that a matter, it's not consistent with what's there, it's not consistent within itself. That's where the inconsistency is.
I'm not sure I follow what you...
Well, it's a change of you're making the transition, but the property itself is not consistent with just one type of zoning.
Right, so frequently, you know, in zoning, you try and make transitions, right, between different densities of districts and different densities of developments. So if you go farther south, even of Stafford Place, you know, then you have more R1D, R1C, R1B, right? And if you go further north, again, we talked about this, there's R3B directly north, there's some R3A, there's some smaller lot subdivisions in St. Peters. So, I mean, that's what's happening all around, is that there are transitions from smaller lots sizes and smaller lot widths to larger ones as you get closer to Kisker. Now, it's not all uniform, right? I mean, these subdivisions developed from the 70s to the 2000s, so there's some differences, but I mean, that's the predominant transition as you're going from closer to, certainly closer to Old 94 down to Kisker. Sorry, down to Towers, I mean.
Now, will this area be developed at a different time? Will they develop it all at the same time?
Yeah, it'll all be developed at the same time. Now, obviously, the parts closer to Dingledine will start getting built first. But yeah, it'll all be developed at the same time.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Mr. McDonald, you have any question? Take that as a no. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, thank you, Mr. Weber.
All right, thank you.
We'll now bring this back to the commission for consideration. Anyone, questions, comments, questions of staff? Yes, sir.
One of the concerns, and we've heard this 2 months in a row now, is the, just the word multifamily. Obviously, I think that's probably one of the reasons why the majority of you people, immediately became concerned, just that term, multifamily. And the concern is, as Drew said there, about a flip. And the way I understand it, I'm referring to staff here, I don't believe, in my experience as 12 years on the council, that can be done. In other words, once this plat would be approved, or a plat is approved, then that's it, all right? And if there would be any changes or any reversal to apartments, it would have to come back to us and, of course, go from there. So I understand the concern, and just the word itself, presents this, kind of just a caution flag. But I don't think that's possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Myers, is that correct?
Well, excuse me. Once you're right, once the plat is approved, it does really provide certain development rights, and it's very rare. Honestly, I can't even remember a time that someone got particular zoning and then proposed a specific development proposal, or plat, I should say, excuse me, and then did a switch like that. It's conceivable that someone could say that, okay, we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in this plat and the subdivision improvement plans and all that, but we're just going to ignore that, and we're going to submit something else. I guess it's conceivable, but I don't see it happen.
But correct me if I'm wrong, even if they did decide that, which was at a huge cost, it would still have to come back to us.
Right, yeah. Any change in a plat would come back before this body for review and approval. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve application RZ 20-13. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Fromm made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bamer, just a second.
What's this for the rezoning?
This is for just the rezoning. Yeah, we'll discuss the plat potentially later. Ms. Sally, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cleric?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
No.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. McDonald, how do you vote? Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
One more time, Mr. McDonald?
I have to count it as a no vote, or no
Yeah.
vote at all.
We'll count that as an abstention.
Yeah.
And I vote yes. So the application passes 6 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Okay, the next item on our agenda is preliminary plat for Crider Farms. The location is 1101 Dingledine Road. This is a revised application. The application is PRE 20-28. Property owner is Marlene C. Leffler Trust. Developer is Rawls Company. Engineer surveyor is the Sterling Company, Engineers and Surveyors. Current zoning is R1B, single-family residential district, 20,000 square foot minimum lot size with floodway fringe overlay district. Requested zoning is to rezone 12.2 acres to R3B multifamily residential district and 28.6 acres to R1E single-family residential district, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size. Proposed lots is 119. The parcel size is 40.8 acres. Location is on the west side of Dingledine Road, approximately 125 feet south of Pine Bluff Drive, near the cities of St. Peters and Weldon Spring, located in Council District 7. Staff.
Okay, most of the information regarding this plat has been discussed during the rezoning application. You know, of course, that it's 119 lots. Out of that 119 lots, 77 would be located in the R1E single-family residential district and 42 lots. Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Okay. 77 lots in the R1E district and, let's see, let's track 42 lots in the R3B district. All of them are single-family lots, and the lot sizes range from 7,000 square feet to 19,255 square feet. The other consideration, they did discuss the minimum house sizes. The county requires that the minimum be 1,000 square feet. Their suggested minimum housing size is 1,500 square feet, which does meet the requirements. And one final consideration, it's kind of hard to show this all. Let me see if I can kind of zoom out a little bit. They're kind of cross, this section goes up to this section, but the other thing is the common ground and the tree preservation. The common ground, the total is, I think it's around 10 acres from what I can see. 7 acres in the R1E, and then, let's see, 2.4 acres in the R3B district. But the most important consideration is the tree preservation. They would be required by county ordinance to preserve 4.1 acres of trees, and they will meet that requirement. So staff has reviewed the plat, And we have found that it meets the technical requirements of Chapter 410, the subdivision regulations, in the Unified Development Ordinance, including the tree preservation standards.
Any questions for staff?
Excuse me, did I hear you say that it's going to be required a minimum of 1,500 square feet?
No, the applicant has suggested that their minimum size will be 1,500, ranging from 1,500 to 3,000 square feet. The county requires a minimum of 1,000 square feet for a single-family residence.
Okay, thank you.
In residential districts.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, I'll ask the applicant to come forward. We have to do this again, it's a different hearing. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Drew Weber with Hamilton Weber Law Firm, 200 North 3rd Street, St. Charles, 63301.
Go ahead.
I have, well, I think they're getting it up for me. Here we go. Thank you again for additional time to talk about, here, we'll skip through the preliminary plat is at the end. I'll just talk about the preliminary plat for Creeder Farms. So to try and make it a little easier to view, we have separated it in half. So we'll talk about the north half first. The north half is where predominantly the R3B properties are. So you can see at the northwest, that is the big common ground area that the staff was just discussing. And then you can see there's a creek or river looking area. That is a creek. That is floodplain. There is a county required 25-foot buffer from the top of a stream bank. So we're not even getting anywhere near that. It's a hilly wooded area over there. So that area is all being preserved. The trees are being preserved. It'll act as a natural buffer, certainly for that part of the subdivision, and will not impact the creek. So then as you get a little closer to the houses, you see that one of the 3 detention basins is there in that same general area, that northwest quadrant. We would like to point out that there are new stormwater regulations that are being proposed and being adopted by local governments and will presumably be adopted by the county soon. And they're more stringent, and we are complying with those. So we are going above and beyond what the current county code requirements are to comply with the anticipated new requirements. If there's specific questions about those things, we have Mike Faulkner with Sterling Engineering, and he would be better able to answer some of those questions than I would. But so as we go farther east, but still on the north of the property, you see that there's what appears to be a buffer area on the north. That is kind of a buffer, but it's also a transmission line. You heard discussions of the transmission line on the west side of the property as well. So it's about 70 feet transmission line going across the north. And then there's additional tree preservation up there, as well as additional detention basins serving that portion of the property. Then lastly, one of the 2 entrances to the subdivision you'll see is on the east, kind of in the middle of that picture up there. There are, because of the size of this subdivision, there's 2 entrances on Dingledine. This is the northernmost one. We'll discuss the southernmost one in a minute. This is not the one across from Emerald Woods. There is no street across from this entrance, just the residences across the street. And then here's the southern portion of the property. You see along the west side, then there's that transmission line area, and when the Avatar cutters come, as that gentleman said, they're coming through that area, but then there are trees outside of that transmission line area, and then another detention basin there on the southwest to serve that part of the property. And again, all of these detention basins will meet the standards that are upcoming to be adopted by the county. And then you have, again, these are the larger lots, and this is the entrance, the southern entrance that's across from Emerald Woods. We heard several people talk about some traffic concerns, so I want to address those a little bit here. The master plan, the 2030 master plan, classifies Dingledine as a major collector street. So when you have streets that are near residences, right, you have residential streets within the subdivision, collectors, which collect those residential streets, and then arterials, which are the main thoroughfares of the jurisdiction. So obviously each of these subdivisions have their own subdivision streets that dump out onto Dingledine, a collector, which then dumps out onto Towers to the south and then to the north, Old 94. So Dingledine is designed to collect these kind of subdivision streets. And then there were questions about, well, you're going to add an entrance across from the Emerald Woods current entrance. Well, that's a requirement of the county's design standards, that if you have a subdivision entrance on a collector road and you're adding a new subdivision on the other side, you want to match up those entrances. So that's less number of visual access points, right? It's the same on either side, and so there's less spots where people are coming in and out. And that's designed to help improve the traffic flow. And we also heard about the tree preservation areas. That was one topic that we didn't get a chance to discuss a lot last time, but with the changes to the plan, we have been able to meet the tree preservation requirements, and we really tried to make sure that those were on the boundaries of the property, specifically the north and the west, to provide some of those buffer areas. And frankly, that's also where the floodplain areas are that we don't want to and can't disturb anyways. So that allows this property to retain some of the wooded area that we've heard some of the residents describe that they enjoy, and then we meet the county's requirements as well. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have about the plat. And again, if there's engineering ones that are above my pay grade, we can call up Mike Faulkner.
Any questions?
Again, the square footage. Are you going to put in a covenant that it's 1,500 square feet minimum?
When we adopt covenants, I'm sure there will be requirements about what the
Right. I mean, but you're saying 1,500. I mean, that's what
we propose.
We're voting on that supposition, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right, 1,500 up to 3,600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the general notes of the plat, it says there will be a homeowners association, is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And will the language of the association articles state that this is single-family homes only?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what the zoning requires.
Just another
layer of protection. Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I'd actually like the engineer to come up, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Traffic stuff, traffic study stuff, and there's some, I drive that road every day. There are some problems at the elementary school. There's a stop sign there. It's fine there. How much further is the road entrance from the school to the subdivision and the entrances? And is there a possibility we can put a light on that road? And would people even want it so that they can get in and out of their subdivisions? Because one of the gentlemen says he's got a problem getting in and out every day because it doesn't stop. And I'll be honest, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I drive it every day. And you're right, it's Collector Road.
Right.
So some of that needs to be addressed, and maybe the county council can address it too. But, I don't know if you can answer any of those questions.
We'll have your engineer come forward. See here.
While Mike's coming up, I mean, I know the county, maybe the staff can answer this better. The county has, standards and requirements on distances between lights. And,
Right.
And I don't know if this meets those warrants or
Yeah, I don't
requirements
either.
or not.
But I do drive it, and I know that if you do put additional traffic on it, just getting out of the subdivisions can be a problem. And I see people trying to get out as quickly as they can. I'm in favor of the subdivision, so don't get me wrong. But I also understand traffic conditions and problems getting out of your subdivision, so.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mike Faulkner. I'm Vice President of Sterling Engineering Company with offices at 5055 New Baumgartner in St. Louis County, 63129.
Go ahead.
What we did is we looked at the entrances first off, with staff, we did an analysis on the entrances to make sure that they could also accommodate for bus traffic and for large tractor-trailer traffic. That's also included in your packet with the plan. You'll see that's the very last sheet in the set. Also, we did an analysis on the site distance for both of those entrances. That also is in your packet too. So we looked at all of this to make sure that those entrances met all of this county's staffs and ordinances, is make those entrances as safe as possible. Hopefully that's answered your question. And we do not
You may
have
not be
any
able to answer the
information as far
question.
as how far our entrance is from the school. We don't have that.
Yeah.
But we can provide that if necessary.
How many cars per household do you calculate in your study of the new subdivision?
We don't do the actual traffic study. All we do is based on staffs and the county's ordinances and their criteria. We look at what the site distance is required. We look at that, and then we look at turning movements. We don't actually do the traffic study.
Right. From your experience, would you have a guesstimate as how many additional?
It's just not our forte. We don't get into that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sirs.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for application PRE 20-28. This is the public hearing for the preliminary plat. Anyone wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Lynch. My address is 1436 Navajo Trail, St. Charles, 63304.
Okay, go ahead, Pat.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight. My, excuse me, property and house backs up from Shenandoah Park on the west side of this property. I have been in contact with planning and zoning, a couple of phone calls, and actually in person also, over a couple of issues. And I understand that the power line is behind my property. That I understand it's a 70-foot buffer from power line to any kind of building. And is that from both sides of the power lines?
The easement, I
Easement?
think you're referring to, is it Quiver River or is it Ameren?
It's neither. I think it's
Well,
it's a co-op, but it's
okay, that would be Quiver River.
Quiver River.
I believe it's a
Co-op, okay.
70-foot easement is what I found. I'm not, I'd have to look at that again.
right. That's what you told me, Ms. Marr. But my question is that 70 foot on both sides if you go straight down from the power line?
No, that is a land easement. The power line could be right on the edge of that easement, or typically they try and go down the center, but it's not required.
Okay, so it could be 35 feet on either side of it if you're looking.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's okay. Not what I understood. My main issue is my property backs up to the spring-fed creek right behind us. Beautiful little creek. We had that rain issue in September, that area, and I'm sure a lot of the other county did also. So what happened is there's another spring up from where my house is, and what happened is the creek got so full that the storm sewer in front of our house couldn't drain. So here was probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water standing in the street in front of our house that couldn't go anywhere because the creek was so high that it couldn't take the rainwater. I've lived in this house for 34 plus years. That's not the first time that I've seen that happen. The way my yard and my neighbor's yard slopes. It goes from the back of the house, slopes down to the backyard, and there's the creek. Well, it took the natural slope and came down to my walkout patio. I live in a ranch house and ended up coming in underneath my basement door, which was a first. But my neighbors, unfortunately, live in a split level, and it went through their driveway, through their garage, into their finished lower level. So here these folks had to open up their patio doors to let the water flow into their backyard. It was a mess. They're still dealing with it. So there's my story. So the detention basins that are proposed here from the north side of the property to the south side, I'm not sure how they drain. Is it from the surface area of it, or is it the depth of it? How is that calculated that they release rainwater?
Sir, we'll ask the engineer to come back and answer that question.
Okay, so that was my main thing. How long does it detain the water in that in the basins there? That was my main issue. So I just want to say to the young lady with the Leffler Flame, for 34 years, I have enjoyed that property. I back up to the woods there, spring fed. I go out there with my morning cup of coffee. I enjoy the deer. I enjoy the red foxes. I enjoy the blue heron who's been out there lately, the owls, and my God, the coyotes. The coyotes, if it's not every night, every other night, they're just howling to beat the band. So I have enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mark Atchley, 4388 West Hampton Place Court, St. Charles. We're in the West Hampton Place neighborhood. Can you pull up the map one more time? I want to talk about traffic. I think this is the actual aerial view, if you would, please, ma'am. And if you could back up a little bit, because in that video, you saw people coming from Emerald Woods, which would be turning right to go on Dingledine, and the difficulty they were having going north on Dingledine. Well, if you're coming from this proposed area, you're now going to try to turn left to go to Dingledine. Then you've got to go right at a light. You've got to go through the light by KFC. You've got to go by Aldi and Walmart just to get to 94 to go westbound. Or you can simply come out of the neighborhood, turn right, and cut through Stonecroft with only a few stop signs that people regularly run, and we've got neighborhood streets with young kids. We already have a problem with safety, and so I think that if you mapped it, you would find that there are like 5 stoplights and all that traffic trying to turn left out of here, when you can just simply take a right, go through Stonecroft and north on Kisker, and then you're going westbound on 94 without getting that collection of traffic that we saw in the video. And so that's really, as far as the plat goes, and as far as the number of homes there, that's really our concern. And I don't know, I've heard people talk about this, and I don't have a really good solution for it. There's just no access. Even if you went on Dingledine up by the church, there's no straight across to go west. You still have to go by Walmart. And so I think it just increases that traffic flow, decreases the safety in our neighborhood because of the people cutting through. And like Gil talked about earlier, the people who live on that street are concerned for the safety of their families. They've tried to get some police officers out there, some sheriff's deputies and they've run, speed once in a while, but they've got lots of other things to do. So that's our concern with the plot, the concern with the number of homes there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Debbie Ferreira, 1108 Dingledine Road, St. Charles, Missouri, 63304.
Go ahead, Debbie.
So just a couple things. So one is that traffic really bothers me and worries me because I said that corner is so bad by Emerald Woods and all that. So I don't know if we could do something as far as some kind of light or stop sign or something if we're going to approve this. The other thing is that really visually, looking at those backs of those houses from our house and that street is not very in keeping with the essence of the neighborhood, seeing all the backs of the houses, that row of houses on Dingledine. I don't know if there's any way to make that look better or do better or flip those houses around. So we're not seeing the backs of them all, but, and yep, that's what we think. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Richard Brooks, and I live at 4028 Emerald Drive, and I have another video for you.
Okay.
Surveyors and zoning commissions look at this property based on lines and colors on a map. Builders see it as dollar signs.
Can we turn it up a little bit?
Allow me to show you what I see. For 57 years, this land has been farmed with crops such as corn and beans. It has created a natural food plot for wildlife. These trees, which cover 25% of the property, provide a natural, vibrant habitat. The current plan calls for this section to be cleared for a stormwater detention area. And the large mature trees you see here will also be cleared. Most of this area will also be cleared. This is a shot of just some of the wildlife this will affect. The builder wants you to believe that they are following St. Charles tree preservation standards. However, this plan shows 10 lots have preserved trees protruding into their boundary lines. The trees in these areas would not be protected once a homeowner moves in and should not be included in the overall number. This is what it looks like during the summer. Take one last look. Since the Zoning Commission has approved the rezoning of this land, this may be the last time you will see it green like this. My recommendation would be to preserve additional trees to truly meet the requirements of the St. Charles County Tree Preservation Program.
And I also have a quick slideshow.
Pardon?
I also have a quick slideshow. I would also like to add that I'm skeptical of their tree calculations. This slide shows the drawings 4.1 and 4.2 dated November 20th, which only shows 2.8 acres being preserved. This slide shows the new drawings submitted on December 10th with 4.1 acres, but the tree outline between these drawings does not change. This was not the only issue I found on their drawings. On the cover sheet drawing 1.1 for the plat, it shows the proposed lot setback measurements. They have R1E and R3B with the same side yard width of 7 foot. The data on this is inaccurate. According to section 405-105, section D, the minimum side yard setback for R3B zoning is 10 feet. This slide shows the maximum width of the houses using their incorrect data. You'll notice the top 2 layouts have the exact same house width. This is because they already know the exact size house they can put on these R3B lots, down to the inch. This slide shows the actual maximum widths using the corrected side yard setbacks. Building a home wider than these numbers would be a direct violation of these zoning laws. The builder will need to redraw their proposed plat to follow current zoning laws with corrected setbacks for R3B. This will also change the number of proposed lots in R3B. I would also ask the commission to require them to sharpen the pencil in regards to their tree preservation numbers. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I will.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate and resident, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. First of all, I'm shocked and surprised. I'm amazed that we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the professional staff and we have 0 staff conditions for the preliminary plat. That just amazes me. I don't understand. I'm glad to hear the applicant is going to put in 4 retention detention ponds. Flood control is of major concern of our county, countywide, as you all know. The new flood ordinance, the original ordinance was withdrawn at the last county council meeting in December 9th. The first reading for the new ordinance will be for second and final reading on January 11th, county council meeting. And I take the applicant's word that he's going to follow the ordinance. That's very important. It's about the retention and detention, the slow release, and the filtration of the water before it's released. Now, we've all heard a lot of talk about car volumes. If you're going to put in these homes, you can expect on an average, I just looked it up on some land use plans and some planners, they plan for a subdivision this size, an average of 3 cars per home. So where's the traffic study? Why hasn't staff asked the developer to pony up the money, the $15,000, $20,000 to conduct a true traffic plan and study? Isn't this putting the cart before the horse? I asked that the zoning and planning commissioners that you refer this traffic issue and this traffic neighborhood a roadway of Dingledine to be improved, that you refer this to our county director of transportation and also our county engineer and superintendent of county highways. So we could get it on the radar, we could get it before the county road board, and we could put a funding package together by applying for grants through East-West Gateway Coordinating Council for the federal funds, the state of Missouri for grants for mitigation and air quality control, and our county road board with a 0.5-cent sales tax that each and every one of us pays when we go to the store. We need to improve the traffic safety of this Dingledine zone. That's inherent and that's apparent in this case. So I ask that this commission put as a condition a referral to the people that I said in county government to get the ball rolling instead of sitting on this another 5-6 years, pushing the pony down the road without making the improvements. What about the street sizes? Are the street sizes in compliance with our county ordinance? I heard from the planner that I guess they do. They meet chapter 408 of our county codified code, so I take her word to that. And of course, of major concern is the tree code ordinance. It's very near and dear to my heart. It's near and dear to our environment, and it's what the quality of life that makes St. Charles County. We've heard 2 different versions. Is it the applicant and the attorney, the hired gun that you're going to believe, or is it the resident that doesn't have a dog in the show, a pony in the show, that did the homework and did the research and came up with what appears to be on the face true and accurate facts. I've heard nothing from the applicant or the engineer about amenities. If somebody's going to buy and invest in this development, where are the amenities to attract families to this neighborhood? The only amenity that he could possibly grasp is the required flood fringe and flood overlay district in terms of the area by the creek that's going to flood anyway. But is that really considered an amenity? I say no. Where are the amenities? And finally, where are our partner letters? I don't know how many public hearings I have to ask over and over. We hire a professional staff, and yet we don't reach out to our partners of the Cotterville Fire Protection District to make sure that the cul-de-sac turning radiuses are in compliance with their ordinances, and that they could get a ladder truck and apparatus to serve these homes in case of emergency or a fire. What about the letter from our county ambulance district to make sure that they're rigs and that they can timely respond to calls as first responders to this neighborhood? I don't see that letter in the packet unless I'm blind and missed something. And finally, the schools. We heard from the applicant and their attorney about the school. There's been a decline in population at the school. But where is the letter from our partners, the Francis Howell School District? I would love to hear from the new superintendent and from his planning people on staff to make sure that they can accommodate, as they're a national accredited school district and one of the best school districts in Missouri, that they can educate. That 13-to-1 ratio is very near and dear to everybody's heart. It provides a good quality education. If you put the subdivision in, it's probably going to raise it to 15 students per staff member. So can Francis Howell take on that added population at their school district? We heard about the middle school, but guess what? Conveniently, the attorney and the applicant left out the high school ratios. We haven't heard about how this is going to play an effect on the high school. So that's kind of concerning. If you put the first two schools up, but failed to bring up the high school, that's very concerning. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Mr. Denoff?
Yes, sir.
Last month, you referred to Mr. Weber as a hired gun. In the public hearing on the rezoning, you implied that there was political influence between this commission and Mr. Weber, okay? And then, just 3 minutes ago, you referred to him as a hired gun again.
Yes, sir.
Your comments directed, like calling someone a hired gun when they're just doing their job, you're just doing your job as a public advocate, okay? That offends me personally, and those are my personal comments.
I'm just stating the facts, Mr. Chairman. Follow the money and follow the Missouri Ethics Commission, the campaign contributions, the county council members, and you'll find your answer. Follow the money. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That has nothing to do with the St. Charles County Planning and Zoning Commission.
Follow the money with the Missouri Ethics Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else wishing to speak this public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Ask the applicant and the engineer to just come back.
If you don't mind, I'm going to upload a video. It doesn't have ominous music, but it is from one of the residents who he submitted it to all of you, and it discusses at least his opinion as a resident of the traffic concern. So while I'm doing that, that's on this flash drive. Mike's going to address some of the stormwater and other issues.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff worked with us in their comments, and part of their comments, they asked that we provide on the plan a engineer note that talks directly about the stormwater detention. It talks about, and I'll try to read it fairly quickly, but it states stormwater detention will be required for the 2-year, 10-year, and 24-hour design storms utilizing the TR 55 method of determining peak runoff as required in section 50.80 of the county's design criteria for preparation of improvement plans. They also wanted added in this note, a meeting will be required to be held at the site between the consulting engineer and our staff to determine the approved pre-developed runoff conditions to be used in the hydraulic analysis, and the meeting must be held in a pre-developed runoff analysis must be approved before interim grading is adopted or approved and before any disturbance is made on the site. So I think that's an assurance that, you know, some of the residents are concerned about, you know, what's the timing and everything. The timing will be developed with staff using the information that we'll have provided and the site visits that we'll have out there. So we will be looking at that, and along with staff. So the stormwater will be looked at by staff, by us, and an analysis will be provided to determine what those requirements are. The other thing is, one of the individuals indicated as far as the tree information. The tree information is correct. We do and are maintaining 4.1 acres of the trees. What had happened before was we had a cul-de-sac. If you remember, and I apologize, we didn't actually present that last time, but if we had presented it, you would have seen a cul-de-sac and a detention basin in this 4.1 acres. So how did we achieve this additional acreage in the trees? We removed the cul-de-sac, we removed the detention basin, and we moved everything internally and away from the natural vegetated area. That's how we achieved the 4.1 acres.
Does your cul-de-sacs meet all county standards?
Yes.
For fire,
Yes.
ambulance,
Yes.
school buses,
Yes.
trash trucks?
Well, school buses won't go into them, and that's the reason why we designed the subdivision we did. The subdivision is designed more of a loop system. If you look at the, if we could get the plan back up there, you'll see that the school district does not want to have buses go into cul-de-sacs. So what we did is we designed the subdivision. Oh, if you can just stop it right there. You can see our layout and design is really on a loop system. We only have really 2 cul-de-sacs and 1 eyebrow. So really what we've done is stayed away from the cul-de-sac design and went with more a circular layout for traffic flow. And with talking with school district and talking with fire department, that's why we came up with this design.
The other concern about the side yard?
Setback.
The setback?
The side yard setback in R3B is 10 foot for multifamily, not for single family.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to, I don't know if I can play this video or if they have to in the back, but this is a video from Jeff Reeves, who's a resident in Stafford Place.
Hi, my name is Jeff Reeves, and I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I live at 4101 Stafford Place Court, which is the first house that adjoins Stafford Place and Dingledine, and I wanted to make a brief video about 2 to 3 minutes long, since I don't think I'm going to be able to be at the meeting because of COVID. I wanted to thank all my neighbors who participated in anything that relates to this, as this is my hope and wish that this was not going to happen from Reeder Farms, so that I could have this as my own personal dog haven. But when I come to the reality and open up my heart, reading the Bible, love thy neighbor, love thyself, that this is a great opportunity for this area during a pandemic to have new construction and remove all of this dead wood that's in here. There's a lot of moles in the ground, and when this ground is not going to be cultivated because the farm is no longer here, it's going to grow out and be ugly. We got a lot of moles, we got a lot of deers. So here's the traffic situation. It's noon, and as you can see, there is mild traffic coming up toward Emerald. But in reality, As I sit here, I've been here now for 7 years, and I do travel this road every day, more than once. I also have 40 hours of footage just doing this from my bedroom window up there, that there's just no traffic compared to a lot of other areas. There's one stop sign way up at Old 94, way up there, and there's one up the road here at Castillo School Road. And because of the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, there's just no traffic. People are moving along comfortably, and it's 11:45, which would be a high traffic time. But my opinion, again, is my wishes, my hopes. I'd love to have this as a dog haven. The entrance for the new Reeder Farms will be at that blue building, approximately right across from Emerald, and down the road where that sign is, about 2/10 of a mile further. What slows down the traffic here is people going 35 like this man here, or less than that, and slowing the traffic pattern down at his own will. It's not really a matter of having a lot of traffic. As you can see, there's 4 cars here, but you got one guy that's just going slow, and he backs up traffic. And there's really not going to be any problem. That's not necessarily opinion, but a fact from all of this data that I have. So there's the farms, a lot of dead wood, a lot of improvements that could be made, beautiful homes. Raoul's family does not make multifamily homes. This just needs to be zoned that way. Thanks for listening. Hopes and wishes versus letting progress just go. We really could use it out here during the pandemic. The jobs, the economy, the money that's coming in. Thanks for listening.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, it does show the 10-foot on the, even on the single family, on the R3, I believe. Does it not? Does anybody have
Well,
anything?
R3B, because I looked it up.
It shows 10 feet, doesn't it?
Single family R1E is, well, I was just looking at it, is 7. Seven feet in R1D and R1E, minimum side yard,
So this is R3B.
which is single
So-
family. Now, that'd be a question, Robert.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in R3B, if you are going to have multifamily housing, we do have a 10-foot side yard setback for
Yes.
the whole development. If you're going to do single-family residences, you stated on the plat what you are proposing. And in this case, they are proposing the same as the R1E.
Okay.
20-foot front setback, 7-foot side setback, and
Okay, thanks for the
25-foot rear
clarification.
setback.
Yeah.
any other questions? Hearing none, thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We'll bring this application PRE 20-28 back to the commission for consideration. Questions, comments, concerns?
I think couple of my concerns were addressed. I think that the side yard setback, or side yard requirement, and Mr. Weber stated that, it's going to be a minimum of 1,500 square feet, so I think they will be supportive value. I do think that the traffic study is something that the county will take up, I believe, at the time, or is that, when does the county do any kind of study on this, Robert?
As part of the process of reviewing the plat, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We do include the highway department and also roads and traffic. So they're made aware and they're able to comment. So at this point, what they are working on is what I would call a traffic analysis, which is
Okay.
things like the site distance, make sure that the streets line up with those streets across the way, Also looking at the turning radius, make sure that large vehicles can get into the subdivision, the type of vehicles that we need for services. But they haven't asked for a traffic study. So there's two people in the county when plats come through who can request or trigger a traffic study to be done, which is more involved than the traffic analysis. And those are the director of the highway department and also the development review division director. Both of those are engineers, and neither one is at this point requested that traffic study be done as part of the plat itself. That doesn't mean that there won't be any analysis done necessarily of Dingledine Road in terms of the needs, but they have not requested that it be done as part of the preliminary plat.
Anything else? Chair will entertain a motion to approve application PRE 20-28, which is a preliminary plat for Kreider Farms. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Fromm makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hollander made the second. Mr. Kuhn, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Ms. Sally?
Yes.
Ms. Spamer?
Yes.
Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? I don't think he is with us anymore, so he would be absent. Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Passes 6-1. Okay. Next thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 18th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Any division updates, Mr. Meyer?
The last meeting in December, the county council agenda, on their consent agenda, the county executive is nominating a new planning and zoning commissioner. The reappointment of 2 existing commissioners, but also an additional one. And the new commissioner, I think his background includes both degrees in planning and real estate, and he's involved in real estate professionally. So should the county council accept that, we'll have another commissioner soon.
Okay.
Might do somebody else at WebEx.
Okay.
WebEx is working great, isn't it?
Yeah. Anybody have anything else to bring for the commission?
Yeah, I would like to bring up the notice stuff. That's one. I don't know if you guys can talk about that. We need a little more direction, I think, at the commission's level. It comes up at every meeting. I know it's already doing it, but also the residents want to know why they're not getting notices. Maybe we should know who gets them, you know what I mean? Just to be clear, how many get them, or how many are mailed, and what's the response rate on those? I mean, it might probably is a good idea. So I think we should bring it up at some meeting. I know it's 10 o'clock. I don't want to talk about it too much tonight. So if we could put that possibly on an agenda for a staff update or something. Okay.
I was just going to.
Good luck on that.
I was just going to point out, I was showing Robert, I think there might have been confusion. On a subdivision plat, we only notify adjacent property owners. On a rezoning, it goes out 1,000 feet, and we do measure from the border.
Sure.
And I do have the maps here if anybody wants to look at them, but we'll take care of it.
Nothing else, maybe just the number of people that have been notified too, for now. And then maybe I don't know if it has to be changed somewhere or what, but maybe.
Well, and we also notify the utilities and
I
the
know.
schools and everything.
I know that, but I want we get this a lot, and if we can maybe address it that way, we can be done with this stuff at every meeting.
And I'm just thinking if you had a map that just showed a shaded area of those that have been contacted, you don't have to go through the tracking everything. If you've got those areas, and people should be contacted, it would seem.
If we could just fix that post office. I used to work there, just so you know.
That's the problem. Anything else we consider?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? Second. Is there a second? All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Oh,